Hello, folks. Back again. This time I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on the K.O.II, the Teenage Engineering EP-133, and in working in combination with my usual suspect here, which is the Pisound, the Raspberry Pi with the Blockus Labs Pisound add-on board and the ModeP or ModeP environment that is sort of a virtual signal processing and sound creation environment. So I've kind of got an experiment here where I've got the EP-133 and the Pisound working together using a USB Midi connection, basically, between the K.O.II, the EP-133, and the Pi. So I've got just a USB-C to USB-A cable. So the Raspberry Pi has USB ports. The K.O.II has a USB, and I've just plugged them in using that cable. Now, in fact, there's MIDI ports on both devices as well, and I have attempted, in fact, have them wired together right now, in and out ports on both the Raspberry Pi as well as on the EP-133. You need a mini phone, stereo phone jack as the connector type for MIDI here, and you have the standard barrel type of MIDI connector on the other device. But so far I haven't gotten that MIDI interface to work. I know there's different standards. I don't know if the standard that the K.O.II uses is a standard that the Pi can recognize. Most of the time, MIDI has been plug and play from all the devices that I've set up, including wireless MIDI. So I don't quite know the story behind that, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I am simply able to plug in a USB cord and I'm good to go. Okay, so I've got that set up. And what I've got is, some samples and some sequences loaded into the EP-133. And right now I have my Raspberry Pi output volume turned completely down, and I've got the EP-133 turned up. So I'll just focus for the first part of this on what's inside the EP-133, and then I'll discuss what's going on the Pi in a minute. So the EP-133 has a set of drum beat samples. That's not drums. It has a bass guitar. It has some vocal samples. It has a guitar patch. Then it has some strings, and that's mainly what's being used in the sequence. Now, I chose for the sequence a song that I kind of like, a song called "Medicine Show" by Big Audio Dynamite. It's an early days kind of electronic music group formed by Mick Jones from The Clash. Used a lot of sampling in their songs. So as I was kind of putting this thing through its paces and kind of learning how to do it, I thought it would be a good subject, to try to cover part of that song. So that's what I've got going on, and I've got a little sequence here, which is sort of the rhythm section of that, and I'll play it now. It's very simple. So you hear the drum track, you hear the bass, you hear the strings, you hear the guitar. And you hear this funny laugh also. That's in the original recording. And so a couple things. One is it's easy, just using the web interface to load custom samples. I have another section of this song and another scene that has layered in all of these movie dialogue clips that are coming from some cowboy movies like Clint Eastwood movies that they used, in some sections of the song. And I've gone ahead and added those in here as well. I'll play those in a second. But, couple limitations. One is there's a 20-second limit on any sample that you use. There's a 64 megabyte limit to the total sample memory in the device. And there's a 12-note polyphony or, limit on any sound, simultaneous sounds, which, by the way, includes any stereo sample as 2 voices. So, if you have a bass drum and a hi-hat playing, and you have a bass guitar playing, that's 3. You've got 2 notes, and if that's a stereo, patch, then now you've got 4, and you got 7 out of 12, and you haven't even added like any melody or any sound effects or anything. So it can be chewed up pretty quickly. So there's a fundamental kind of challenge to anyone trying to make music on this to fit within the limitations of this, the polyphony limitations, the sample size limitations of this device. All right, so, there's some strategies on how to do that. The one that I chose just was a omission strategy, which meant that, use mono voices as much as possible, use a little bit of ambience or other ways of, positioning the mix and things to build some kind of a spatial arrangement, and then kind of reduce the number of notes, frankly. So when I don't need the hi-hat, I just don't use the hi-hat. I take it out. When I don't need all 3 notes in the chord to make the chord shape, I can just take out 1 or even 2 and sort of let the listener have to fill in some of the details. Now, you wouldn't really know any of that if I've done my job right. You wouldn't really hear any of that, and so that's kind of a cool challenge to work within the limits, to kind of come up with the strategy to implement it. And I did this by, I guess, trial and error, where I tried to have like the audio tracks with the dialogue clips. Those are set up as one-shots in here, and so with those being in there, I would play it, and then if for some reason during the sequence as it's playing, it clips off that track, then I realize that I've got too many notes, and I got to go find one to take out until I can make sure that audio plays uninterrupted throughout the entire sample. So I went through and did that, and I kind of ended up with the enriched track that has all the samples, and I'll play a little of that for you as well. Oh, hang on. Goes a little something like this.
Who the hell is that? One bastard goes in, another comes out. I'm innocent of everything.
So now you can hear the beat, the tune, and you can hear the voice samples in there from the clips as well.
Nice you laughing.
Okay, so that basically represents everything I can do in arrangement here. The other thing, of course, is I can do the real-time effects, which I've shown you before, and I'll do those just for a minute as well.
Budget? Ain't got no budgets. We don't need no budgets. I don't have to show you any stinking budget.
Okay.
I'm innocent of everything.
So, all right. Now we've got the real-time effects, the audio samples, the basic music layout there. All of it is able to be played now. I'm not having anything clipping, anything, where the polyphony is too great. That's cool, but what if I want to go beyond that limit? Well, I suppose I could get another K.O.II. I could set it up connected to a computer. And what I decided to do was add a layer to this mix using the Raspberry Pi. using ModeP and using the MIDI capabilities of ModeP to extend the range of sounds, to add additional polyphony, to add additional sequences even, and try to then have them slave to the EP-133. So that's what I have now showing on the screen. I've got my Pi. Now I'm going to turn my Pi up, and I'm going to turn the volume down on the EP-133. So now you're only going to hear the components of this that are being, again, triggered by the MIDI from the K.O.II, and then being performed by sound samples and patches put together, signals from the Raspberry Pi. So if I move my attention to what's on the screen here, what I can see then is I've got sort of MIDI coming out of the Pi, and it's going into a few different chains here. One is a chain that's got a guitar patch, and it's got the samples, the MIDI notes from the guitar track in the sequence are isolated on channel 3. You can assign what MIDI notes for what notes are playing and map those. So I've got it filtered to the channel 3 only, and I've got a chord builder here, so I'm actually augmenting my chords a little bit with with the samples from the original sounds from the EP-133, now layered with a new guitar track with some effects processing and an amp model. The other thing I've done is I've taken the bass drum and the laugh track, that little laugh haha sample, and I've added a go-go bell from the GM percussion track here. So I've got now some auxiliary percussion, and in the original mix it's sort of layered on top of the bass drum and that snare. So I've got it kind of set up so that whenever I play those beats on the K.O.II, that those notes play here. And actually I can show you that. So I'm playing the keys. Let me just go to the demo so you can see. So you can see I'm playing the keys over here on the EP-133, but the sounds are coming out over there. Alright, so I've got that, I've got the guitar, and then finally I've got this bass over here, which is an analog bass, so what that means is I've got, similarly, whatever I play over here, I have mapped to, in this case, channel 2. It's going through a little analog bass emulator right there with a waveform that I'm kind of sculpting, and then that's now playing in unison with the bass notes that are being played out of the sequence over here. The last thing I have is this other sequencer, right? So this is just a step sequencer module inside of ModeP that I have that's actually just slaved to the clock on the EP-133. So it's playing its own track. It's just a sequence of a few notes, and it's playing kind of an augmented pad. So I've got a pad over here, and I've got a couple of shimmer verbs, and I've got now the ability to kind of layer a more lush pad on there with more sustaining notes that overlap, and again, overcoming that limitation. First of all, there's a sample length limitation over here. I said it's up to 20 seconds, but even just using a string sample, it's got a whole dynamic envelope, and it's going to stop short, and the higher notes especially stop shorter because it's just changing the playback speed, the way that samples typically work. So over here now I've got this pad that doesn't have those limitations. It'll play as long as I want, and I can play the notes over here on the EP-133, and I can actuate them there, or in the way I've set it up here, which is simply just adding another whole track to the mix that's slaved off the time over there. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to play my sequence, but this time you're only going to be hearing the layers that are in the Raspberry Pi. Nothing coming out, no audio coming out of the EP-133 at all. Okay, so there you go. You can can see that the sequence is playing itself over here. You can hear that the go-go bells are playing. You can hear the guitar kind of chugging along. And you can hear the analog bass kind of in unison. So now, it's not extraordinary, but it is working around the limitations. And now if I layer back in the EP-133, have a listen. So now this is everything from both sources mixed together. Sound from the K.O.II, sound from the ModeP on the Raspberry Pi. So something that's very cool is that if I do that real-time effects processing here, anything that changes any of the MIDI notes in real time is actually going to also change them over here on the Pisound. That means that I can perform with this mix and with this combo and apply real-time effects, do scene changes, whatever I do here, I can essentially slave the Pisound and not just let it play kind of dumb along the way, but actually be a part of the performance in real time, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to switch to the one that has the film dialogue sequences in there as well. So now everything you're hearing, you're going to hear the voices, you're going to hear the sounds in the EP-133, you're going to hear the sounds from the Pi, and you're going to have me doing real-time effects over the top of it.
Who the hell is that? One blow comes out.
So that means
Badges? We ain't got no badges.
okay.
We don't need no badges.
So now maybe you got the sense that when I was applying some effects here, it was actually changing the sounds and the MIDI notes in real time over there as well. And I think that's just a cool dividend of slaving a MIDI source to the K.O.II, because some of the cool features that the K.O.II has now extend out to your peripherals. And of course, the performance that you could do real time and live with this is pretty powerful. I have a keyboard connected as well. So that means that, I could play real time. I can actually play on the keys here. I can provide real-time effects. I can change scenes. I can have MIDI sequences loaded. It's a very powerful tool considering all those limitations. The Pi has its own limitations as well, but in combination, you get a lot of mileage. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to show you kind of what I thought was a cool experiment, a proof of concept that shows that these two tools, two of my favorite tools now, work together really well. Kind of a chocolate and peanut butter deal going on. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and let me know, and I'll continue to add additional experiments and, just like I've been doing on this channel. All right, you guys. See ya.